Hi, I'm Darlene from Petal Academy. Are you struggling to put together corsages after you've wired and taped? I'm going to show you a really quick method, so stay with me. Today I've gathered some materials here on my desk. I've got a couple of spray roses that I've wired and taped. If you've missed that video, you can catch it. I'll put the link for that video below. I've also got a ranunculus bud here. I've got a lisianthus bud in bloom, and I've got a couple of little mums. And I'm going to show you how to assemble this and make a simple pin-on corsage. So for greenery, we're going to be adding in just a little bit of Nadina greens that I've got here, and I've also got a little bit of pistacia. Just going to remove this little side shoot of pistacia. I've also created a little tiny ribbon that we're going to be using as a bow. I'm going to go ahead and trim up my pistacia, so I've got it in some smaller pieces to add into my corsage. And I'm going to do the same thing with my Nadina. You don't need a lot of greenery actually in corsages. I prefer it to be really, really low amount, just enough to sort of accent the bloom. So some little pieces that are, probably as big as your baby finger are great to use as accent greenery. So I've also got a tiny little bit of limonium that I'm going to add in here. And again, limonium is pretty easy and flexible to use in corsage work. I've just removed those little pieces of greenery on the side there, and I'm going to go ahead and assemble this. So we are going to be making a pin-on corsage today. So I've got my main bloom, which is going to be my lisianthus here, which is really gorgeous. I'm taking my bow. So I've made this bow just a couple of loops, and I'm going to tuck that right below my lisianthus. So I'm just going to tuck that in there as a base. Then I'm going to take one of my accent flowers, a little bit of a mum, and I'm going to add that to the side. I almost assemble this the same way I make like a spiral bouquet. So I'm sort of adding all the elements in little groups kind of together, but all the wires I like to go in the same direction. When I add a wire, I simply twist all of the stems together at the base. Then I'm going to take a little bit of filler. So I've got a little bit of limonium that I'm going to be adding in here. Just a little bit of that in there. And when we've got a little bit of an accent that we haven't wired that we want to add to our corsage, we take our tape, tuck it around the binding point, and we rotate. And that will catch those stems that we just added in there to make a nice clean finish with our tape. If you want to take a bloom and add a little bit of greenery as an accent on it, you can take your wired and taped bloom, add your little piece of greenery onto the back, take a tiny little bit of tape, engage it with the taped bloom, and just rotate that down, and that will attach a little bit of the greenery to your blooms. And then you can also assemble them in different little sections. So I can take my two roses here and attach them together. Again, I'm going to twist those stems really nicely. I'm going to add a little bit of limonium and perhaps another little piece of Nadina into my little bundle here. So I've just created a little bundle. I've rotated those stems all together, and to attach the greens and the filler, I'm grabbing that tape roll, always the sticky on the inside, and I'm rotating that little bundle right around in my fingers. And I'm pulling towards my body with my left hand and pushing away with my right, and I'm right-handed, just so you know, so that will make that easily work. So I've got that ribbon sort of tucked at the bottom. I'm going to continue to add a little bit more of a bloom here. So I'm going to add my roses up ahead of so just a little bit taller than my lisianthus. Give that a little rotation. I'm going to add my ranunculus down here at the bottom, and you can see I've tucked that in right at the heart of my corsage. I'm just going to take that stem again, rotate it around, and I'm going to take that little lisianthus bloom and tuck it in so that it comes back towards me a little bit. This just sort of rounds out our corsage and makes it a little bit more, gives it a little bit of a base and a little bit of height. So I've rotated all those stems. You can see them in my fingers. I'm going to take my final little bit of tape around just to hold those mechanics in place really nicely. And then if you wanted to add just another little accent of greenery, I'm going to take just a little bit of pistacia. I'm just going to add that into the back of my corsage. And you could add another little side piece in here. Just want to add a little bit of an accent. Then we want to unravel our tape again. Sometimes I hold it in my pinky just to make it easy. You can see all my little pistacia stems are tucked around my corsage. I'm taking that tape. I'm going to zoom in here for you. taking that tape right around the bottom, and I'm catching all of my cut stems at the back of the greens, and I'm going to rotate that one last time around. There we go. Perfect. So I've got that nicely taped. We want to make sure this is as clean and neat as possible. Practice makes perfect. So as the more familiar you get with this, the easier it'll be. I'm going to go ahead, trim off the bottom of my corsage. Sometimes what I like to do as well is put a little bit of extra tape here at the base to ensure all those wires are protected so they don't harm anybody. And then some people will put a little pigtail or curl on the bottom of this, and they will pin it on. But basically, this will get pinned on to whomever is going to wear it, and it makes a gorgeous corsage. This is also a very similar method to how we make boutonnieres. If you want to watch that one, stand by for the next video. If you like this video, subscribe. We'd love to hear your comments and any of your challenges. We're here to help you learn and create and bloom with floral design. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.